On this video for close trade Monday 19th of August 2013. Well, actually it's a long time after the close. Had a lot going on here Tuesday morning Sydney time, so apologies, this video is kind of getting out late. Well, there we go, the sell-off kind of continues. We've lurched down some more on Friday and lurched down some more on Monday. So the sell-off started when we broke through 1680 on Thursday. We got into the high 40s on Friday and now the kind of low 40s on Monday. 1.3 million contracts traded. So a couple of things I'm going to say in the video. First of all, I think this is really important in terms of the rolling over of this market. Yeah, we're going to test back up at some point, but I think we're more likely to be breaking through the supports, and the tests back up are going to be weak, and I'll show you the reasons for that. Also, over the next couple of days, I think we're going to have put in a little bit of a local bottom on Tuesday, a little bit of a reversal day, kind of sell off first thing and then put in that bottom and then kind of bounce back up, and I'll show you the charts that I'm looking at for that. So in terms of where this is kind of bigger picture, the weekly chart of the Mini here, this first bearish divergence, that's what's really important for me. So you can see this move kind of set off in kind of November, December, with exhaustion selling on the downside. Blue professional bars kind of come in and we rally from there. This exhaustion buying signal is just showing the strength of the buying, reversing at that point, kind of getting this move going. And now all of the volume that traded getting the move going now has come out at 1700 on that kind of last exhaustion move up. The test back up on the E-mini has been really weak. Amateur up bars into Rambo pattern. This is why I'm showing the E-mini chart here. When I show you the index isn't quite as clear in terms of those patterns kind of going up, but the futures show it really nicely into that first bearish divergence. So that for me is why this is a really important kind of level going forward. It kind of mirrors the selling here to the buying here. Exhaustion pattern and the first bearish divergence kind of comes in. Now you can see that pattern on all the indices. Here's the NASDAQ, first bearish divergence come in. The left shoulder was broken by quite a bit. We went to kind of the head move here. On the Dow, you can see that that shoulder to head move was a lot weaker going on, and the bearish divergence actually came in a lot earlier. Russell, we don't have volume data on Russell, so I can't show you better momentum signals there. So there we go. So for that kind of bigger picture, I think is really important for me. Going forward though, at some point the daily support's going to come in. We're going to get a little bit of a bounce kind of from here. Usually what I say is cyclical moves on the higher time frames, look for trending moves to mirror those on the lower time frames, and you can use again a factor of 3, 45 minute to 135 to daily chart to get down to those low time frames. And you can see here we've not put in pullback to end of trend yet on the 45-minute chart. However, the amount of selling that we had by the close of today was pretty extreme, similar to the move, the selling that got this move going through the break of 1680. Here we've dumped a similar amount of volume into the bottom on Monday. So let's see if we put in a little bit of a reversal move kind of first thing on Tuesday, then put in pullback to end of trend on the 45-minute chart before syncing up with that support on the daily chart. I always say the 45-minute chart here is very similar to the 40,500 tip bar chart. I always like the tip bar charts rather than the minute-based charts, and here you can see the same picture. So this is the exhaustion selling through 1680, through support, getting this move going. We're now in a trend move because it's broken through support. We've got to see pullback to end of trend, and then with today's reading by the close of business on Monday, that was the kind of exhaustion selling that we had, similar to the move getting this move going. So that kind of the move, the volume that was dumped here has now been picked up. We've got a blue professional bar kind of coming in at the close. We've still got to make pullback to end of trend on 4,500 tip bar charts, so we're still going to see some weakness first thing on Tuesday, but let's wait until those things complete and we put in those end of trends. From there we could get a little bit of a bounce. So I'll be looking for that kind of first thing. If it continues to sell off and kind of keeps on going and those we don't get those pullback to end of trends on the 4,500 tip bar chart, it's going to take a little bit longer, but that's what I'm looking for. So on the lower time frames, pullback to end of trend. Now in terms of bigger picture, so just to refresh your memory, we had a crash warning indicator go off on the commitment of traders numbers a couple of weeks ago, and this is really important. And today, this weekend's data on commitment of traders was really important. So the crash warning indicator goes off when you have this little pattern here. It's all open code on the site now on TradeStation, so go kind of look that up if you're interested. But with this weekend's activity, this is kind of really important. So I take the commitment of traders numbers, I flip them upside down, just because moves up are mirrored by the commitment of traders numbers when you flip them upside down. I just find it easy to read like that. So the warning signal goes off and we get continued strength in the number. So the commitment of traders numbers still going up here, but then with this weekend you can see that bar actually kind of moved down. That for me is quite significant. You can see previous warning signals. So for example, this one here, the signal goes off and then we continue to get strength, just like we've had in this last few weeks after the last signal. So continue to get strength, and then it's not until this starts to really weaken, the number starts to weaken, that's when we get the move down. In this case it was correction going into a crash. This particular warning signal, for example, was weak all along, and we just get continued weakness. It just continued to sell off like that, so we never got any strength kind of after it and just moved straight into a correction. So because that weakness has come in this weekend there, for me that's actually quite important. So let's see where this goes. We're coming into September again, which is always kind of a jolly good trading month, so kind of let's see what actually happens, whether we get a crash move with this kind of warning signal kind of going in. For me, the bear that I am, with all the signals that I see, I think there's a good likelihood that we're going to see that. Lastly, just looking at the currencies and the bonds. So yen, I was saying the 2.5 number is absolutely key, and I'm just looking at this number kind of after the close. So we had this blue professional bar on Thursday. We had a rush by the professionals into here. I said look for a break of that blue professional bar on the way up. Today's activity, this bar here, was actually an amateur testing down bar. So all that is just a little bit of weakness on the downside, playing by the amateurs kind of there, trying to get short potentially. That looks like it's going to hold. We break the high of that bar and then break the high of the blue professional bar, this is going to break into an uptrend. It's just on the daily chart here. We're still in a downtrend on the weekly chart, but we're looking for this resistance level, a pullback in a downtrend to kind of come in. And what I'm suggesting is this is just going to be a short covering rally, probably push above this previous high 106 here, to find that resistance level from which we'll then kind of test back down for the yen. But this activity with today's amateur bar, just a testing down bar, the lows are still holding, so the likelihood is the high is going to get taken out. We're still in this zone where the professionals kind of picked it up, so I'm looking for that high to be taken out. So let's see if that happens tomorrow. In terms of the euro, very similar pattern here. So we had the blue professional bar kind of comes in, jumps the creek through the resistance line here. The lows are holding quite nicely. We break the highs a little bit of an amateur down bar, a little bit of weakness. Today is just a test activity. If we break back through the highs of that amateur bar, through the highs of this blue professional bar up to 134 and above, bang, there we go. The euro's kind of strengthening, and that'll mean we're through resistance on the daily and the weekly chart. So that's quite important in terms of a trend move up in the euro. But lastly, bonds. So I was saying with bonds, with this blue professional bar, potentially that was just a spike down below support. We rush back up, the highs get taken out, and money kind of runs into bonds. Hasn't happened the last couple of days. So it's continued to weaken overnight. We've got a little bit of strength going on here. Certainly the reading's pretty big in terms of the selling that we've had in this last move. Looks like that's going to be a flush pattern, kind of flushing out sellers. But we didn't see blue professional bars on the weekly support. It was all amateur stuff here. So, and because we're now through support on these two time frames, it's fairly weak. I'm surprised, the equities have weakened and we've had no strength in the bonds when we'd normally had, kind of a rush to safety into bonds. There's been nothing like that. So, it's a little bit unusual. And then, we're seeing equities in the US kind of fall off and the euro start to strengthen. So, it's kind of unusual in terms of risk on, risk off, and kind of safety plays and so on. But that's what I'm seeing on my chart, so just kind of got to go with it. Anyway, so there we go. Just a bigger picture kind of thing, and then what I think's I'm going to be looking for at least during Tuesday trade into Wednesday trade. Let's see if it kind of works out that way. Hope your trading's going well.